change something here. Sorry guys, give me a second. Welcome back, folks. You might notice that a couple of things have changed in my background. Moved some stuff around for home living purposes, and now I've got the window facing forward. It's nice. If we're gonna be stuck here doing this live stream stuff, might as well make it pleasant, right? Gus, come here. How's it going? What up, people? If you have questions, today I'm basically just going over questions, so there's no content, no new content. For SI and for English both. So if you have questions, ask away. I'll basically just have the live stream going for about 30 minutes. So if people come in a little later and want to ask questions, that's okay too. See ya. Oh. Yeah. Hey, Goose. Yeah, Molly, please double space it for MLA format. Guess, why are you so camera shy? Oh, yeah. Hi, Emma. Hello. What? You wanna go? Okay. Okay. Fine. All right. So a couple things also while we wait for people to log on and wait for people to ask questions. I'll be posting up a poll on Schoology, basically asking what time people would prefer that I do live stream. I'll probably, I'll include a bunch of different options, and whichever one gets the most votes by, let's say next week on Monday, I'll go ahead and start making that my regular live stream hour or hours, because I know not having a solid or not having a scheduled out time when I'm going to be on can be difficult for you to schedule your own stuff around. So I'll post that up on School just to keep an eye out for that poll starting today, and then it'll run through Monday. Okay. Harper, it says you need an example. Yes. When you're discussing the concept of single story, which is section A, and we ask for an example, basically it's just an example that makes it easier to explain. So if you're talking through how the single story is a truth or a simplified truth or an unbalanced truth or an incomplete truth, just give an example of what you could talk about in present day society that would reflect that, right? So something that something you would consider to be a single story without mentioning Africa, because you're going to do that in the next paragraph anyway. Hello, Ashley. Yeah, move some stuff around. It's time for a change. You know. Hello, Andres. Hi. So for those of you who are just joining, I'm just going to stick around for a few minutes here and see if more people log in, and if people want to, ask questions for the IUE. Not entirely sure what you're talking about, Emma. Maybe. We haven't talked about anything specific about the IUE in terms of a live stream thing that we're doing together. So I'll talk to him, see if he wants me there. I mean, I've been doing Q&A all week, so I feel like a lot of the questions have already been answered, and if you still have some, it's fine, but I don't know why you would still have questions after this week. Nevada, yeah. So, sorry, you had an email about this. I didn't send you a response. When you're doing the example of a single story in section A, that was my suggestion to you if you didn't know how to write about single story as a concept. And so in explaining out an example, you'd be explaining the concept, right? So you could take that with a grain of salt. You either bring an example in to talk through the concept and like sort of the abstract parts of it, like what does it mean when it's like in the background, what does it mean when it's the story that's the only story that's told, like when you're discussing that part of it, you can talk about an example. But if you want to just talk through the abstract, if you want to just talk through the concept and what that is, you can do that too. It's totally fine. I think the example is more relevant when it comes to the consequences. So when you're actually going through like potential negative consequences of single story, whether it's how it impacts policy or how it impacts how people treat one another, etc., that would be something that you could use an example for and not have it out of place, I think. Harper, your historical analysis was for King Leopold's ghost, not really for the South African apartheid. That was the character analysis. So in the character analysis, you talk through details about apartheid policies. If you want to bring that information in, you can. I think that makes sense. Sophia, maybe I'm misunderstanding the question. I wouldn't. So the way that I would approach that section is not talking specifically about like, okay, so here's one building block, and let me explain why it's a building block. It's more, here is what colonization did. So you don't even have to mention or say building block if you don't want to. You could say like what the idea is or what they actually did. This concept of holding up hierarchies or policies that held up particular hierarchical systems, right? So you would reference that, and then you can say that in explaining how it's oppressive, how it challenges single story. That would be the way I approach the building block section. Don't actually say building blocks because it's kind of awkward in writing. You could just talk about the content of the building blocks. Molly, transitioning into AR, again, you sort of have, I don't want to give away the transition, so you have to sort of think about what is the connection between the last thing you're talking about in English and the first thing or the general topic of the second pair or the AR section. Okay. Undress, you don't have to go super in depth. I had maybe like a 25-30 minute conversation about them, but as long as you discuss like how the 5 concepts are connected or interconnected, and how they ultimately work to then go into section 2 of that section, which is how Black consciousness serves as a challenge to a single story, that will be fine. Hello, Bella. Docked points if we take a lot of our sentences. Yeah, Nevada, I wouldn't copy paste anything. That would be, I think, foolish, considering the fact that all the stuff is on Turnitin.com, right? So you should be thinking about how the content relates, but you should not be copy pasting. When we say that you can refer to your historical analysis or your character analysis for how to approach the writing for this, we're saying like you can use some of the ideas from there, but if you really think about it, each of the things that we're asking you to do are slightly different. They are not the same thing, considering the fact that your thesis is different for this essay. No, Emily, you do not need to include other leaders besides Biko in the Black consciousness section. You don't have to introduce all the characters, no, just the ones that you're planning on using in the discussion. You might want to introduce like this, how they relate to the overall synopsis of the play, like what the overall story is, but you don't have to talk about all the characters. No. As far as introducing them, I I suppose you could give some. I mean, I would give a little bit of information. Like you don't just say Charlie, for example, is an example. Is an example of someone who has an imperialist mindset. Blah 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 blah. You would say like, one of the characters in the play, the American journalist who comes to do a story on the African mission, by the name of Charlie Morris. Right. So you would give a little bit of background for who the characters and how they relate to the overall play. Harper, I wouldn't. I would paraphrase. A lot of those quotes also, some of them are from Biko, others are from other Black consciousness leaders. So they're not all from Biko. Yes, Andres, if you want to, you can. You're not expected to, and you won't lose points if you don't. But if you want to, perfectly fine. Now, don't let that be. Don't let that be instead of your explanation of those quotes, though. You can't just say like, "See, this was oppressive," because, and then you put the quote. You can't do that. You still have to explain what about that situation makes it oppressive, right? Talk through the characteristics and then ultimately how that challenges single story. Oh yeah, that's a mirror. But the stairs are right next to me. So if I stand up straight, this is where I stop. That's my head right there, going into the stairs. It's kind of a strange location. I feel like I'm in a cave, but it's fun, you know? still here asking or answering questions if you have any. Feel free to ask them. I'm just writing on some notes for my closing today. Emma, no, we are not. So, you're welcome. Yes, Bella. Section A, which is context, is where you would put information about in what ways apartheid was oppressive, some of the specific policies that you want to maybe outline here include like banning Bantu Education Act, the housing or the repatriation laws, the township, stuff, homelands or Bantustans. There's a lot of different stuff you could talk about. Mateo, for the conclusion, the paragraph format is basically you could do it ABC, or you could do it, I think you could combine B and C. So you could do A and then as one paragraph, and then B and C as one paragraph. Mateo, that's B. That's in the, if you split up B into 1 and 2, 1 would be what is Black consciousness, 2 would be how is it used to combat, the single story. Oh, hi, buddy. Yeah, come here. I know. Yeah. Come up. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. For here? Oh, not my lap. He's fine on here. Section A. What does it mean by context? Mateo, for Section A, in the Black Consciousness section, all that means is you're talking about what was apartheid like for the Black South African population, and then what's the atmosphere in which Black consciousness movement happened. So like, why did it happen? We're talking about in response to things like the Soweto uprisings, right? That's what A means, or context. All right. Any other questions? Any more questions? Ooh. Bit. Hello, Samantha. Any other questions? Any more questions? If there are no other questions, I'm gonna go ahead and start talking through Molly, those aren't really the kinds of questions that I was entertaining, but yes, we adopted Gus. He is, we think, I don't know, 3 or something, and he's a mutt. He's a rat terrier mix. We don't know what kind of mix. Long-haired Chihuahua maybe. We don't know. And we've had him for, I don't know, 2 months, 3 months now, 2.5 months. Wow. Okay, yeah. Yeah. I don't know. Okay, I'm gonna go over some closing remarks today then. So it looks like this school closure thing is gonna be a lot longer than we had initially expected. Leela, yeah, present tense is good for literature, but for everything else, since you're talking about history, past tense. Okay. So I just want to mention, since it seems like this closure might last longer than 2 weeks, we don't know for sure, and I don't want to, assume anything. But given some of the information that's been coming out about other businesses closing and Gavin Newsom talking about schools not coming back until the summer or something like that. Again, nothing's for sure and nothing is certain. We don't know. Teachers don't know more than you guys right now in terms of what's going on. we're sort of holding on and waiting for more information too. But, wow, rain is really starting to pour. We do have to start planning for what happens if we are no longer going to be in school. And the live stream is good. I think it's more of a holdover for right now. I'd prefer that we have more sort of like class interaction, stuff that's separate from the chat. I think live stream works fairly well for lecture, and so I might continue recording things for lecture and for for lecture pretty much. But when it comes to like class activities or class feedback, I'll probably start using Zoom, like some of the other teachers are doing. That way we get a little more student buy-in. Hey, what are you eating? You eating something? Huh? What, you want to be up here? Yeah? Okay. Hold on. Come here. Okay. Yeah. Come here. Come. Jump. What? Yeah, come on. What are you doing? Why are you waiting? Okay. Yeah. So if that's the case, and we do stay here longer, or we're out longer than expected, then, just be flexible. This is unprecedented times, right? We're not really, we didn't plan for this, but we'll make it work. So regardless of what happens, I still think that you should be looking at Schoology every day to stay updated on how I'll be communicating with you. If anything, you might want to start looking into how Zoom works, because I might start using it. We'll do a couple of test runs for it later on if I plan on using that, because I'm still working on if I want to use that platform or not, or if I want to just continue using YouTube. We'll see. Samantha, that's correct. Yeah. If you're talking about what it is, you're talking about like the concept and what is Black consciousness. And then if you're talking about how it was used during the apartheid movement, you're talking was used in a particular way. And if you're talking about how it can still be used, then you would say it is used, right? So you could say present tense there. Okay. Okay, did the Zoom meeting thing. Okay. If you missed the beginning of the live stream, I had mentioned that what I'm going to be doing is putting up a poll on Schoology starting today, basically asking what the best time would be for live streams for you. Obviously, we can't satisfy everyone, but I'll go with majority in this case. I'll have the poll going until Monday next week. And select whichever times work for you, and then I will adjust the schedule accordingly and start going live based on that time, whatever you guys select. Okay. Last announcement is that all late work, if you have any late work, any missing assignments, some of you still have a lot of missing assignments, which is upsetting. Make sure that you turn it in. You have a lot of time this week. You have a lot of time next week. You really should be getting that stuff in. Actually, this week, because your due date is 3/20. Okay, it's Friday. That's tomorrow. You got to get all late work in by tomorrow. Please make sure that if you have a 0 on something, you turn something in, because it's better to have a half credit than no credit. Okay. And I think that's it. I don't have any other announcements. Yeah. Cool. If you have questions, email me if you have concerns. Email me. Let me know. Check Schoology daily. And bye-bye.